can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the show. Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas and the Pod at the Palace to talk a little bit of Razorback hoops after a win. It's nice for a change. I was looking forward to doing this for a change as opposed to like scraping the bottom of the barrel to try to find some way to make this basketball team interesting again. They did that themselves for a change, and boy, I appreciate that. The Hogs have had to reinvent themselves in a hurry in the absence of Boogie Fland, and to their credit, in our first sample size of the new look roster, the Boogieless Razorbacks, we saw them pick up their first SEC win. So, hey, it feels good. It feels great. A big exhale maybe for the fan base, but how sustainable is it if this team is going to rattle off enough wins to get back in the conversations that it wants to be in, which probably requires you to go like a bare minimum of 6-6 the rest of the way. I will say if things go according to chalk this weekend and Arkansas picks up a win, they're up to 11th in the SEC standings. All right. So one rung at a time. It's better than the basement, but the way they got it done, are they going to be able to continue to do that? Is it sustainable? Can it get you where you want to be? Beautifully ugly is how I phrased it in the aftermath. And it's probably a good part of the recipe moving forward. Arkansas is going to have to win some of these games ugly. Boy, it sure was fun to watch, right? They've lost some games ugly, and it's a different kind of ugly. It's a lack of effort, lack of execution, not playing winning basketball. No. This was just grinding it out. They drug Georgia out there in the deep waters. They weren't ready for it. Slugfest. That type of ugly is the way this team's going to have to win some games. Hey, like we said, you got to just get the first one however the hell you can, whatever it takes, and then go from there, right? Well, here we are. So what's it going to take? What can they carry over from that game that's going to work for them? And, where are they going to have to improve if they're going to pick some of these other teams off? Step one is and has been consistently about it just like winning the want-to category, right? Arkansas won those effort stats against Georgia. Like that type of stuff has to be a given. You have to want it more than your opponent. I know it sounds cliche. It sounds like coach speak, but it's true. And these guys have to have that. Now, that doesn't always equal a win. It doesn't. But it's a box that this team has to check if they're even going to give themselves a chance to go out there and get them. And, they did it for a half, honestly. And it's going to take more than that. But that type of effort, energy in the second half, I've seen so many Razorback games in Bud Walton Arena won because of that type of effort. It was good to see. I think John Calipari put it well after the game. Arkansas isn't a great team, but they're pretty good. We've been dying for pretty good for the better part of a month. What's kept us from seeing that is the type of stuff that we saw in the second half. That type of intensity, the urgency, the passion that they played with against Georgia after halftime is what it takes to succeed in this league. And now the challenge is, can you do that for 40 minutes? Can you sustain it from game to game? Can you take that on the road? We'll see. But look, this Georgia, it wasn't Arkansas's A game. God, I hope not. And we should be encouraged by that because it means they can get better from where they are. But it was an A-plus effort down the stretch. That's what willed them to a nice home win. That's a start. I think piggybacking on the effort thing and the urgency and the intensity, that makes me think about defense, right? And that's something that, you've got to be in position. Your help side has to be there. Your rotations have to be good. You have to communicate through those switches. All those things are true. The team element has to be there. But a large portion of defense is effort-based. Watch the first half of that Georgia game and then watch the second half of that Georgia game. You'll see the difference that I'm talking about. If they play with that type of intensity on the defensive end of the floor, this is a team that can be really good on that end. And they have been at times this season. I just have this feeling, I'm really going out on a limb here, Arkansas is going to need to win some games in the 60s if they're going to get them. So cutting off someone else's water the way that they did against the Bulldogs, that matters. You got to have it. Not allowing these teams to go nuts right out of the gates like Missouri did from 3. Got to have it. Not allowing Cam Carter at LSU to go for 30 on you and locking that stuff down. That's the type of stuff that Arkansas is going to have to do. Great work from them against Georgia, running them off the 3-point line. What did they have? 14 3-point attempts in the game? I know they're kind of like Arkansas where they don't shoot a ton of them or make a ton of them, but to limit them there, that's really good. Limiting those offensive rebounds. And look, I get it. It's Georgia. So you're like, oh, okay, whatever. Congratulations. Hip, hip, parade. Let's throw you a parade. That was a team that was ranked last week, and it is a team that entered play ranked 11th in the country in offensive rebounding percentage. We know what Arkansas struggles have been like there. They shut it down, only allowed 8. That's important. Generating some turnovers. They got 13 turnovers. You need those to fuel the break. You got to get some easy points in transition. Wherever you can find a point here, point there, you got to get them. They were able to do that in this game. Can they carry that over against teams that might not be a little bit more, less turnover prone, or teams that have an actual point guard? Georgia really didn't. We'll see. I like the timely use of the full court pressure for Arkansas. Honestly, at a time where the energy in the building was high, they used that to their advantage and started picking up full court, and it worked out for them. It was good. I just feel like Arkansas has to be consistently salty on the defensive end, and they can be, but to have a puncher's chance because this team, I think they're going to be offensively challenged here moving forward. Okay. Enjoy the win, embrace the win, never apologize for it. Don't over critique it. But it took some statistical anomalies to get to 68 points against Georgia. It's a really good defense in fairness, but you guys watched it, and Arkansas is going to have some nights where they get hot. They will. And I don't believe that they're going to shoot 30% from the field, 13% from the 3 regularly. But do we think they're going to become, Pete Golden State? Do we think they're going to all of a sudden be out there dropping 100 on teams like Bama does every other night? Probably not. I think that they're going to get better in terms of making some shots, though. On the flip side, I also don't think that they're going to be able to rely on getting 80% of their points coming at the free throw line or second chance. So, what's the middle ground there? You wonder. Can you average 25 free throws a game instead of 35? If you do that, then can you make, 3 more threes in a game? 4 more shots from the field to make up for that? Can you get over 40% on your field goal attempts? That's not asking too much. That's not good either. But can you get there? I think they can. I feel like that's reasonable. Can you get over 30% from 3? Be a poor 3-point shooting team, but at least serviceable out there? Yeah, I think so. I think you can do that. Are you going to get 18 offensive rebounds every night? Nah. Nobody does that. They rebounded 45% of their misses. It was insane. They also had about 1 million misses to choose from. So there's that part of the equation too. But can you average more than a dozen offensive rebounds per game and get those second chance points up? Yeah, those are reasonable barometers. What you did against Georgia, yeah, that could drag you across the finish line to wins over Oklahoma on Saturday. Or a get-back game against LSU at home, or South Carolina, they're now the only winless team in the SEC. But it's going to take more to beat some of these other teams on the schedule that you're going to have to. Like I said, if you want to get back in the conversations you want to be a part of, you're going to have to beat some teams that you're probably not expected to beat. And you're not going to be able to do it, at least I don't think, exactly the way that you did against Georgia. But like we said, the beautiful thing is this team is going to get better as they adjust to reality without Boogie. And it's a big change, and it's not going to be an overnight deal. There were some reasons for optimism. I really believe that. First, and obviously, like we said, there's just going to be an adjustment period when you take out your most ball dominant player who rarely comes out of games. It just changes everyone's role. And I think we saw that in the first half. These guys will settle into their new roles and get better. I promise you that. And I thought they did in the second half, even though the shots weren't falling. They figured some things out. They were getting some better looks. They were getting to the free throw line. They just seemed a little bit more comfortable in their own skin on the floor in the second half compared to the first. It's an adjustment. Dude led the SEC in minutes. So, different guys are going to be playing different roles, different positions. They had wonky lineups out there. Was it Nelly Davis, Billy Richmond, Thero, Brazil, and Z? Was that a lineup at one point? I was like, what the heck is this? They're going to have to do some of that, but they'll get more used to it, right? 6 assists, that's a hard number to look at in a game, but consider all the missed shots. Like, it wasn't necessarily because of a lack of ball movement or a lack of opportunity. They created some good looks. They just didn't make them. And I understand that's been an underlying issue with these guys, but that's a little bit more encouraging than the alternative, which is that it's just a complete clunk show out there. What I was encouraged, though, was the nation's 8th best assist to turnover ratio man being out, and Arkansas only turned it over 10 times. That's a number you can live with. So, yeah, you want that 6 assists to get way up, but if you're only turning over 10 times a game without your starting point guard, who's one of the best in the country, yeah, that you can live with. The rest of the guys, it's about showing progress throughout the process here from game to game. You aren't going to win many games, although you just did, with your starting backcourt going 6 of 28 from the field. That's tough stuff. DJ and Nelly have to be better. And we can all agree on that. They both went 3 of 14 in this game. They did some good things in other areas, no doubt about it. They both had contributions to this win, critical contributions. They had some timely baskets, but those two, 6 of 28, like at a bare minimum, you got to double those makes, bare minimum. Both of those guys have to consistently be in double figures. That's got to be a given that you're getting double figures out of both of those guys every night. You got to have that from them. I don't think that's too much to ask from either one of them. They just got to go out there and do it. Can DJ get more comfortable in that distributor role? I know he's done it before, but it was spotty this season because Boogie was out there so much. Getting a little bit better about certain things, having his eyes up and picking rolls, reading those things a little bit better, knowing to reverse so your opposite guard can dump it into the post. Like, can you get some of that? He'll settle in there. I actually like Nelly as that floppy cutter, the guy running baseline to baseline, coming up all those down screens, those pin downs. I like that more than I did DJ, believe it or not. He reads those pretty well. He does. He was getting good looks. He was being more assertive. He was not passing up a bunch of shots and opportunities. I like the aggression there from Nelly. They just got to freaking make them. I mean, 1 of 10 from 3 is nasty work, and he's not shot it as well this year as he has in years past, but he was still like 35, 36% coming into the freaking game. 1 of 10? I don't think that's going to be the norm for him. I really don't, but can he get more comfortable getting back to a role that's a little bit closer in terms of having the ball in his hands to what he did against FAU? I think it's reasonable to think that it'll at least get better. How much more efficient is it going to get? Is he all of a sudden going to become that guy that he was with the Owls? I don't know about all that, but I do believe it's going to get better. Goodness, I hope so. Carter Knox, he grew up some in that second half, didn't he? You're not making shots. What do? Do you keep chucking it? Do you dip your head? Do you let it impact what you're doing defensively? Or do you get more aggressive and get downhill, get to the free throw line, draw contact, crash the offensive glass, do all the little things? That's what they've been asking for from him, and he did that. 11 or 13 from the free throw line. It was absolutely huge for Arkansas. They wouldn't have won the game if it wasn't for his efforts in the second half. Can he continue to play with that type of intensity on a game-by-game basis and then start making the occasional wide-open three because teams are going to give it to him? Georgia was giving him like 5 feet of cushion every time he touched it on the perimeter. And he was taking the bait early, and then he wasn't a little bit later. But he's going to have to knock down some of those. We've seen it from him in spurts. He's been in a cold stretch here lately. I like that they're trying to dump it inside a little bit more, but they need to do something with it when they put it down there. Arkansas isn't making, in my opinion, any sort of run here unless Jonas Adu cuts the crap and starts playing. He's got to. He just has to. He is the one back-to-basket guy you have outside of like getting, a Duthero on a mismatch on the block, which I had to sign me up for more of that. But he's got to be able to get the ball and score it in there. He's got to be more of a factor on the glass. What do you have? 5 points, 4 rebounds or something? That's just not that's not going to cut it for Arkansas here. They need him to be the guy on the interior. They need Big Z, Trevor Brazile to be the ancillary pieces, the complementary stuff. Either that or one of those two guys is going to have to really, really step it up if Jonas just wants to be a fringe role player. He only played 18 minutes in this game. He got benched to start the second half. They've got to get the winning player that he was at Tennessee. Super, super important. Because I think Z and TB, like they're critical as floor spacers at this point. Like, don't you feel like you need a minimum of 3 made threes between the two of them, like every single game? I kind of do. But there's a pathway. Like there are ways they can piece this together and be what someone in our post-game chat called a reasonable offense. That's all we're asking for now. Just a watchable operation out there that can get you past the teams that you're supposed to beat. I do think the truth is, as we know, Arkansas is going to have to beat some of these teams that have way more firepower than they do. Some of these teams that you can play really, really good against defensively, and they're still going to score quite a few points. I'm talking about the Bamas, the Auburns, the Kentuckys of the world, those high-octane offenses. You need an alpha to emerge. We haven't seen that through 19 games, and I'm not saying it has to be every single night. I'm not even saying it has to be the same guy every night. But to get over the hump against some of those opponents, these top 15 games that are left on your schedule here, you got to have somebody. As much as I love Thero, it feels like his perimeter limitations make it tough for him to be the automatic go-to. He's the hustle guy, the effort guy, the downhill guy. I feel like he's at his best when he's part of a 1-2 punch. Well, who's the two? Right? Who can explode for 25 against one of these good teams to cancel out Mark Sears? You know what I mean? I wonder who that's going to be. Does DJ have that in him? Maybe. I don't know. But his roles change now. He's in more distributor mode. John L. Davis does have it in him. We just haven't seen it. Maybe he needs to show it. Maybe he needs to just turn back the clock one night here and there. Can Carter get hot and get going? If he's getting to the free throw line like that, and then he knocks down a couple threes, he's getting close. Somebody's got to be able to put it on their shoulders at some point and just kind of will the team. Otherwise, you're really asking for a lot. Like you need all 8 guys to over-deliver on their production to knock off some of these top-end squads. That's where it gets a little bit tricky. So can one guy really overdo it, right? There's a pathway. At least we can talk about it here. They need to get through Oklahoma, though. You got to stack it. You got a little bit of momentum. You just can feel a little bit better about yourself. You haven't dug out of the hole. You're nowhere near it. But if you get that one, you got a couple going. You got a week then to practice with this new look group. Maybe this is where John Calipari makes his patented tweak that everybody loves to make fun of him about. That's a good time to do it with a week off before you get Kentucky and Texas on the road and then come back play Alabama at home. So I don't know what it will look like. But we'll see. But hey, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you're not subscribed to the Inside Arkansas YouTube page, make sure you do that before you get out of here. And we'll be back in the morning, full preview of this Arkansas-Oklahoma game. Another big one, another must-win for the Razorbacks if they want to even stay in the mix for any of their goals coming into the season. Looking forward to that one. Then obviously we'll have the Pot the Palace post-game show after that game on Saturday. But I'm out of here. Been Curtis Wilkerson, Inside Arkansas. Y'all have a good day. Catch you next time.